Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
Well. We thank you very much for listening to the No Fruit Podcast. And we have another powerhouse guest today and someone that we could really relate to. So she has been married to her husband for over 30 years. And she has been passionate about marriage and family, particularly after her own parents' divorce during her senior year of high school. And when her marriage began to feel rocky, the books, seminars, and gurus had poured over the past, lacked the information she needed to fix herself or even diagnose the problem. Then she found Laura Doyle. Her book, her approach was completely unique and simple, and it was her. She was the problem, as she states. But once she learned the way she was repelling her husband, she shifted and became magnetic again. Thank y'all very much for tuning in today. We present to you Cristie. Cristie, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sure,
Glad
no
to
problem.
have you here.
So, we're talking about being magnetic again, right? And there are some things that you point out about some habits that we should adopt in our marriage to create an unfair advantage, right? And especially in a place where we don't value marriage the way we used to. For you being married 30 years and us being 25, we view marriage a little differently. But there's some that don't value it the same way. So what can we do to create those advantages in our marriages?
Great question. Yeah. Well, I know that I was magnetic when my husband and I first met, right? Because he pursued me, he asked me out on dates, and ultimately he proposed, right?
Right.
But somewhere over the years, I lost my magnetism and I started to develop some habits and some ways of being that were actually repelling him that I had no idea about. And in my practice, I coach women because many times, just like myself, we were having some rocky places in our marriage and I was blaming everything on him, right? I had the he disease, like he needs to, and he ought to, and he should, right?
Right.
But he wasn't, he wasn't in the same place that I was. I was ready for change and wanted something a little bit different. And he was kind of in his thing. And so it was very frustrating and it felt very powerless to want this change and be waiting for someone else to make it happen. And so when I found Laura Doyle, I realized that many of the issues that were happening in our marriage were because of me and that I could be the initiator of change. And so that was very empowering. So sometimes when women come to me, they go, well, why do I have to do everything? He's the one why do I have to? And I go, it's not that you have to, it's that you get to. You have the influence as a woman to change the flavor of your marriage, even without your husband being actively involved. And the beautiful thing about it is that when I started to change the way I showed up to our relationship, guess what? He did change too. He responded differently to me. So when I began to go back to some of those magnetic ways, then he was magnetized back to me,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think some of that happened with Maurice and I when the kids went away to college. Like you said, beforehand, we were, kind of just going through the mundane, the daily things of life, and weren't really checking in with each other. But they went away to college and we started having date nights. We started cooking special meals just for ourselves. So tell us a little bit about like date night and what that means to a married couple.
Yeah, well, date nights have always been important to us, and even like getting away for a weekend or things like that. And we've been blessed to have family and then church members and things who were willing to keep our kids for us. one of the great things that we found was we got real close to a young couple in our church that were more like in the newlywed phase, didn't have kids yet. And we found that they really enjoyed coming to stay at our house, and they would take care of our kids while we were gone. And the kids were, you know, somewhat older and could do fun things. So they would play games together. It was a great chance for our kids to get to know a young Christian couple that were a good influence on them. And it was that couple's chance to kind of practice family life, right? So we would go away for the weekend and maybe just drive 3 hours to Nashville and just have fun or whatever. But, you know, when you get away from your responsibility, you can remember what it was like when you were dating, and you can just leave all that responsibility behind and just enjoy each other. And I think that was really key for us along the way. And my husband was really good about initiating those kind of trips and those kind of getaways, just to remind us of what it was like. And we would just laugh and cut up and really, you know, feel the feelings.
Yeah.
And you know, something else that really helps, I find, and I just posted this on Facebook the other day, is listening to the music that you listened to when you were first together, when you were dating, when you were falling in love. We just sat one night outside. It was a beautiful night, and played and went back and forth on the phone, playing different songs off of Spotify. And it was so sweet and fun and romantic just to remember those times.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question. I'm sorry. Sometimes my brain goes left. So when you play those songs, right? Do you play them around your kids? And what's their response?
You know, they act that way, and they don't want us to kiss and hug and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you and I both know that they love the security that brings, to know that mom and dad are still crazy about each other.
Right.
And I've always said that I want us to have a marriage that makes our kids excited about getting married. Because, you know, some people, their marriage makes their kids run from marriage and commitment. And that's not what I want. I want my kids to look forward to marriage and to think that's what I want, you know?
Yeah. And when they enter a relationship, and you want to be able to see that they and their partner have that connection and have that love. Like, you don't want it to look like it's just a marriage on paper, or it's just something, you know, contractual agreement. But you want to see that love when they do partner up and get married. So I think that's key, that we share it and show that, just like we have to show them that we can pray together and that we can, you know, work and communicate, you know, all of those things. You need to show all of those things. Yes, that's key. That's good.
Yes. We went to an event last night. Everybody got dressed up, and it was a fundraiser. And when we were parking the car, some of the couples were walking in, and a lot of the couples, you all, that were our age, they're not holding hands, and they're just and one of them is way far ahead of the other one or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to be that grumpy old couple. I want us to be the happy old couple that's holding hands. And, you know, he's helping me up the stairs, and, you know, and we're laughing and enjoying each other, because you can tell a lot about people's body language about what's happening in their marriage. And it can be really sad. I want people to stay married, but I don't just want them to stay married. I want them to thrive in marriage. I want them to enjoy their partner. And some people can get to the point where they feel like that's not possible. But I'm here to say it is possible. Everything, there's a reason why we chose one another, right? And those qualities are still in husband and wife. We just have to dig them back up again, because they've kind of gone missing. Because, like you said before, we get caught up in the day-to-day and the mundane, and we're paying the bills, and we're washing the clothes and cooking the dinners, and it can get hard and it can get boring, but we can spice it back up again, you know? And that's what I want to help women to do, is spice it back up again.
So what are some of the ways to spice it back up? I think one of the things is you have 6 intimacy skills that we can go into. So tell us a little bit about how we can spice this marriage back up.
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that I always start with the ladies who come to me for coaching is self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with Christian women, that can be tricky because they feel like that's selfish or self-centered and I'm supposed to be a giver, I'm not supposed to be a receiver,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the thing. My husband and my family, they want me to be happy. When I'm happy, I
Yes.
show up happy and I spread that joy, right? Because we've already
Yes.
talked about as women, we are influential. And we've all heard the saying, if mama ain't happy,
Mm-hmm.
ain't nobody happy, right? And so when I
Hmm.
show up happy, it helps my whole family.
Yes.
And the way that I can show up happy is by doing things that I enjoy every day.
Mm.
And I'm not talking about hours and hours of self centered stuff. I'm talking about I sit down and read a chapter in a fun book,
Mm-hmm.
or I take a hot bath, or I go for a walk and listen to a podcast, or I go to coffee with a girlfriend, or whatever it is. It might take 5 minutes, it might take an hour. But I encourage my women to make a list of 20 things
Mm.
that bring them joy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those things might cost money. Some of them might be free. Some take 5, some take 55 minutes. You have to have a good variety so that when you feel yourself getting in that grumpy, crabby mood that we all get into, you can go to your list and say, okay, what can I do right now
Yes.
that will make me feel better? And you know what? My family loves it when I
Mm-hmm.
take care of myself and show up happy. And sometimes we've gotten so into the habit of doing all the things that we're crabby
Mm-hmm.
and we're miserable and we're resentful because I have to do everything and blah blah, nobody helps me, and that is not attractive. That resentment, I think, is the poison of marriage. I think that will disintegrate your marriage and your relationships with your
Right.
children and everybody else
Yeah.
faster than anything is when we show up like that. And we don't have to. We can bring joy to our own lives because we know what makes us happy. And rather than waiting and saying, well, my husband needs to do something to make me happy, or my kids need to do something. No, I need to take care of me. It's my responsibility. And then I can show up happy with my cup full, ready to take care of my people and love my people, right? Just like on the airplane, you have to put on your own mask
Right.
first
Right.
before you can help the person next to you. So I need to be full and happy and ready, And that's a big deal because when I show up resentful, people are going to run. They're going to hide. They're going to
Right.
say,
Right.
mom's in a mood, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants that. So that's the first place I always start.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that what I hear is trying to stay in a youthful space, a youthful mindset, because a lot of times when you're in that space, you're looking for excitement, you're looking for joy, you're looking for you're exploring your curiosity in life, So I think those are the type of things that what I'm hearing from you as people are writing down those 20 pieces that helps them stay youthful to say, hey, you know what? I'm still curious about life, not just about myself, but my partner, along with the kids. And how can we make the school better? How can we make, their commute better? Whatever it might be. It just sounds like there's some ways where we need to still have fun and keep that youthfulness in our life.
Yes. Yes. So 2 questions I tell the ladies to ask themselves is, how do I feel? What do I want? Right? And so I may feel tired and need a nap. I need to go take one, right? Like take care of me, right? I may feel hungry. I need to go have a snack. I may feel lonely. I need to call a friend. Whatever it is, just checking in with yourself rather than just being this machine that just goes and ends up hateful at the end of the day because I haven't done anything for myself. And see, I don't think men struggle with that. I think men just take care of themselves, you know? And my husband, he knows when he's tired. He knows when he's done for the day. He goes sit down on the couch.
Yes.
He'll turn on some ESPN. He doesn't have any guilt about it, right? He just thinks it's time for me to relax.
Right, right.
And I used to be angry about that. I used to resent that he, what are you doing sitting down? There's all this stuff that needs to be done. He'd say, I'm tired. He'd say, come sit down next to me. And I'd say, are you crazy?
Right.
There's thousands of things that need to be done. And you know what? And I didn't see that for what it was. That was my husband loving me. That was my husband wanting to spend time with me. That was my husband saying, the dishes don't have to be done right now. They'll be there tomorrow. Why don't you relax and enjoy, you know? And that made me so mad, y'all. And now I know I see that as love. And I go, oh, he wants to spend time with me. How sweet.
Right.
These dishes will be there tomorrow. Who cares? And I now have the ability to go and sit down. And rather than resenting him, I go, you know what? He's right. I'm tired. I don't want to do those dishes. I'm going to go sit down with my hub and enjoy.
Yeah.
And isn't that more attractive than the resentful, you know?
Yeah.
So I've realized I want to be that magnetic woman that pulls him in. And you know what? Another thing I was doing that was really pushing him off was complaining a lot. And I didn't realize it. I complained a lot. And I didn't think of it as complaining. I didn't realize it. And much of it he took as a personal hit, you know, and I didn't realize it. And so what I have learned to do is identify when I'm tempted to complain and realize that complaining is actually a lazy desire. So if I ask myself, like I would complain about my car is always dirty. You guys leave all your trash in my car, blah, 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 right? I realized that what I wanted was a clean car. And so I learned how to express my desire in a way that inspires. And so I said to my husband one day, I said, I would love a clean car. And he goes, I'll take it and get it cleaned right now. Right? Because what I have found, ladies, is that our husbands really want us to be happy. And so if you give him the information on how to make you happy, he's thrilled to go do it. He may wash the car himself. He may tell one of the kids to get out there and clean it. He may take it to get it cleaned. I don't know. And I don't have to care, right? All I do is state my desire. I'd love to have a clean car. Because when I griped and complained, everybody just scattered, right? Nobody did anything because complaining is so unattractive. But when I said I would love to have a clean car, my husband's like, I'll take it right now. And off he went and took it and had it cleaned. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like magic.
Yeah, so
much more attractive.
So I could relate to that being a husband, because we've had some of those challenges as well, and I think some of that also is just as simple as communication, and understanding the value of that, and verbal versus non-verbal communication is just important. You know, for us to understand, and being able to because we can't always read between the lines. You know, and so I think that keeping those lines of communication are key, as far as understanding where the other person stands and what's on their mind and all those type of things. Because like you said, you might have been complaining, but in your complaint, did you hear what was going on in his day, that particular day? You know, so, but it goes both ways. Right. We have to understand the same thing. You know, of, hey, you know, we have to be able to hear and see, because we have no idea what y'all ladies go through every single day. You know, whether it's in a school board meeting, whether it's at work in a man-led environment, you know, so we're all dealing with our own personal struggles and things like that. And I think that's key, that we talk about it, we work through it, and really come to a real understanding of where the other person sits in their position.
You know, what's interesting though, is when we talk about communication, I was raised just in this world of communication, right? It's key to the relationship. And so in my mind, and I'm a talker, as you can tell, so in my mind, the more communication, the better. And I think what I've been learning since I started coaching and learning the skills is that I actually needed to cut back on some of my communication, right? Like too much. My husband can't handle all these words, y'all. And so I need to make sure that I've got my girlfriends around me, that I can share some words with them and kind of spread the love, and maybe not talk as much to my husband, or maybe not share everything, right, with my husband, because some of the things that I was sharing wasn't helpful. Maybe it was complaining, or maybe it was just too much. Not everything that comes up in my mind needs to be spoken to my husband. I need to be thoughtful about his feelings, and I need to make sure that my communication is sprinkled with gratitude, right? That I'm recognizing the things that he's doing and being thankful for them, because what I have learned is that what I focus on increases. And so if I spend my day thinking about, I can't believe he left the clothes on the floor, I can't believe he didn't fix the drain that I asked him to fix 3 days ago, I can't believe he left the garage door open, or whatever, my whole day is just going to be building up a case against him, right? And it's going to grow. And then I talk to my friends about it, and then But I could choose instead to focus on the fact that he goes to work every morning and works really hard. The fact that he took my son to school before he went to work so that I could sleep in. The fact that he made dinner the other night. And the fact, there's so many good things about my man. And so many things that he does that make my life easier and better, that I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have it. And so I can choose that focus every single day. And of course, this goes for all aspects of life, right? We all have blessings and challenges, and they intermingle in our lives. And we get to choose which one we're going to stare at. And it's going to have a lot to do with what kind of mood we end up in.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I really want to focus on the good. And I want to enhance that by being grateful and saying. And so as women, again, we can be influential and really stir up an attitude of gratitude in our household, thanking our kids, thanking our husband for all the things they do that we love, and all the character qualities they have that we love about them. And guess what? It starts coming back to us because they hear it and they start feeding it back to us. And we have created a way in our home.
Right.
And I love that, because everybody wants to be recognized, right? For
Most
our
definitely.
contributions. Yeah.
Most definitely. So I just want to say one thing before we end the show. I'm the one with all the words.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah.
So he needs some friends, huh?
That's why he has 3 podcasts, so that he can share those words. But then I have to hear what the podcasts were about, and here's some podcast idea, and what do you think of this? So I still get pulled in. Yeah. So this is how, part of this podcast started, because he was doing others. He's talking to some other people and was just talking and things. I said, you know what? Why don't we just have our own podcast and we can talk about these things there? But I thought that would cut it back some, but now, sometimes it doesn't. Worse. Yeah, because it's like, hey, he talks about things, and I'm like, that should be on the podcast. And then we start to talk about it, and then we talk about it again in the podcast. So, but it's fine. It's fine. It's I still love him. Like you said, he's my guy, with all the many, many words. Yes.
He knows it. Look at him. He knows it. We know who we are.
Yes.
That's wordy folk.
Right. Yeah. So, but Cristie, we thank you very much for coming on the show today. Please share with everyone where they can find you. Hear any other ideas or thoughts that you have for people, or even where they could find out where you might have these workshops or seminars.
Yeah. So my business is called Relationships with a Map. And you can find me online at relationshipswithamap.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn at Relationships with a Map. And I do some 4-week workshops where I teach the skills, but I also do one-on-one and group coaching. And I just love to get with women who are bored or dissatisfied or unhappy. They might be in a crisis where their husband has left, or they might just want to be kind of refreshing things. Anywhere in between, I love to help them to start focusing on the good and, utilizing gratitude and self-care and things to really show up as their best self. And I've seen success with these skills, not only in my marriage, but with my kids, with my adult kids, with my mom, with my brother, so these are skills that can be used across the board. So anybody who has a tricky relationship, which don't we all have tricky relationships, right? And we've got the holidays coming, right?
Yes.
So everybody has to get together with their trickies.
Yes.
I'm
Big
ready
fun.
to help.
Yes.
Wow. Well, we thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yes.
But before we let you go, we have one last question.
One tough question. Are you ready? So we ask all of our guests this question. It digs really deep to their core, and it's a great way to kind of end the podcast and just let people know a little bit more about you. They know where to find you, but they all are probably wanting to know this one little thing about you that helps them to know you a little bit better. The question is, if you could do a duet with anyone in the world, living or deceased, who would you do that duet with?
Ooh, okay. Okay. Here we go. Ooh, this is hard. I just had a second thought. Okay. I was going to say Bruno Mars because he is so cool. I can't stand it. But I think it would have to be Justin Timberlake. He is like such an awesome dancer and singer, but he's also hilarious. And I gotta have comedy in my life, right?
Yes.
I gotta have comedy.
Exactly.
So I would love it, but he would have to teach me some cool dance moves before we could really get started. I mean, I got some, but I would want some JT inspired moves to really, get down.
That's great. That's great. Awesome.
Who do you guys say?
Oh, gosh. So, see, it's difficult because with us, so we met in church, right? And so with that, and when I first met Kafa, I was presenting in a meeting. And right after that, I saw her, like, hey, how you doing? That type of thing. And I introduced her, I invited her to come to a choir where I was the president of. So we sang on the choir for a while. We sang in plays and things like that. And so it's really been hard because we're singers to a degree.
And hold two notes.
Right. that because we've been on stage with other people where they've, headlined or whatever it is, and we sang background, whatever it might have been. So it's really hard to say exactly who that would be. But I would say ultimately it'll be my forever singer right next to me. So, yeah.
Yes. That's so sweet. I love it. You make harmony together.
Yeah, right?
Yes. And
Not me and my husband. No, thank you. No, there's no harmony.
That's funny.
Oh, goodness.
So, do you have anybody you would like to say?
I mean, of course, with you.
Default.
But the thing would be what song. I think that would be the difficult part. Like, we would sing together, but.
So we joke too much. We laugh too much. So we won't, after the first 3 words, we'll probably say something funny or, somebody a trip or something. Like, how you tripping? You're standing still. Like, things like that. So like you said, like you just want to have fun and enjoy the time. So we'll never get through the song.
Yeah. Oh, I think playful is one of the key words I use all the time. I want to help you have a playful, peaceful, passionate marriage because playful and laughter, I mean, that's what, I can see the love between the two of you because you are playful and enjoying one another. And that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Because of our life partner, let's enjoy them.
Right. Right.
I
So,
love it.
well, you
And
know,
that's one of the things I think, real quick, that our kids love about us. Like you said, you know,
Yeah.
you hold hands with your husband. I think my husband, like he said, we'll trip one another. Like we'll be walking to the church and you,
something silly.
we're just always, you know, pranksters
Kids.
to one another, you know. So we're
Yes.
kids at heart and
Right.
playful, you know, all the way. So I think that's what our kids look for in their relationships, is someone they can laugh with. I think when my daughter, you know, was dating with someone in high school, I'm like, well, what do you like about this guy? She's like, he makes me laugh. I'm like, that's it.
Yes.
And she's
Yes.
like, yeah. I'm like, gotta be a little bit more than that, babe. Like,
Right.
Yes.
but I think that's really key, is finding that whatever it is that you and your partner gel together, like you said, when you first started dating, continue that on, and
Right.
that'll be the glue that keeps you together. So. Thank you so much, Cristie, for coming on today. We truly enjoyed you. I mean, we can continue talking, I'm sure. We'll probably have to do this again, part 2 or something. Like, this was just great. But thank you so much for coming on to the No Fruit podcast. And
All your information will be in the show notes.
Thank you.
So anyone that's listening, whether or not you're walking, you're driving, whatever it is, you'll be able to reach out and find Cristie any and everywhere.
that's right.
You know, so Cristie, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great.
Sure, no problem. And thank you very much for listening to the No Fruit podcast, and we will talk to you a little later.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.